everyone, my name is Sean and in today's video I'm going to be building a KOZMO deck. I love Kozmos. This is a Star Wars based Wizard of Oz kind of hybrid mashup of an archetype, and this deck is really good. This deck once upon a time used to be the best deck in the game, and it got nerfed by Konami hitting a lot of the key cards in the ban list, but now all of those key cards are now free to use, and I think not enough people give this deck enough attention because this deck can kind of do anything it wants to do. The deck is divided into two kind of categories. You have the pilots, which are the low level monsters, and the high level monsters are your ships, your machine monsters. All of your ships cannot be targeted by an opponent's card effects, and if they're destroyed by battle or card effects sent to the graveyard, you get to banish the card from the graveyard to summon a lower level version of a ship from your deck to the field. And that is really good because these cards do what we call floating in this game, where they get you more resources when they leave the field. Now, all of your low level cards don't work that way, but your low level cards can kind of tag out and summon out your ships by paying life points in order to summon them directly from your hand to the field. Furthermore, all of your cards, your low level cards as well, can work as extenders as well. Tin Can gets you cards from the deck, your Strawman gets you cards from your banish pile, Sword Troopers gets you cards from your graveyard, and so on and so forth. This deck is really good. You have Spell Negation in the form of Dark Planet, you have Trap Negation in the form of Dark Eclipser, you have Monster Effect Negation in the form of Dark Lady, you have Monster Removal in the form of Dark Destroyer, Spell and Trap Removal, Protection, Life Point Gain, the ability to flip cards face down, a trap that banishes any card on the field without targeting. This deck is very robust, and in fact, the only thing that's difficult with this deck is that is trying to find the right ratios to fill it all in and just work on the key cards. So we don't use everything, but we do try to focus on the key cards a little bit. For starters for this deck, we have 3 copies of Tin Can. He is your main starter. He's a fantastic little boy, and he is an homage to R2-D2 from Star Wars. And how he works is all KOZMO cards that are pilots have the effect that you can pay during either player's turn. You can banish this card to summon a higher level KOZMO monster from your hand to the field. So they all have that. I'm not going to say that again and again. But his unique effect is that during the end phase of a turn, you can pay 500 life points to show 3 different KOZMO cards from your deck, and your opponent picks one of them at random for you. This is a really good way to get one of your high level ships to your hand, and it puts the rest of the cards in the graveyard, which is really good for us because we're going to be able to revive them from the graveyard as well. The rest of the cards that we have here are generic starters. We have a double Allure of Darkness. Half our deck is full of dark monsters, and we don't mind if our cards are sent to the banish pile because we have 2 ways to get them back from the banish pile, 3 ways actually. We have Emergency Teleport. Our lower level KOZMO cards are psychics, so E-Tele can summon them out directly. This card is definitely worth noting, particularly for your Farm Girl combo. We have Foolish Burial to send them to the graveyard. Gold Sarcophagus, effectively Foolish Burial for the banish pile. Again, we can recover from that quite easily. 1 for 1 can search out your Tin Can and summon it to the field, which is great. We don't care about the extra deck. This is another reason why I like this deck. It's very beginner friendly because you haven't got to learn Leap Monsters, Fusion, Xyz. You can just put whatever you want in your extra deck and the deck will still work because we're going to use most of those cards as material for Pot of Extravagance. So that is all good. Then we have Reasoning. You have cards on all different levels here, so it's very unlikely your opponent will guess what level you're going to summon with it. So Reason is really good. And then we have Terraforming to search out KOZMO Town, our field spell. For extenders for this deck, we have 1 copy of Sword Troopers. Sword Troopers can summon a psychic monster from your graveyard by paying 1,000 life points. So any of your pilots can come back from the graveyard by your Sword Troopers. And the Strawman is very similar, but you pay 500 life points to target one of your banished KOZMO monsters and summon it to the field. But its effects are negated and it's destroyed during the end phase. That's not too bad though, because if you get one of your big ships from the banish pile and then it's destroyed, it will trigger its effect and give you another monster anyway. So it's really good to have Strawman. We play 3 copies of KOZMO Town. This card does a lot of different things. Once per turn, you can target one of your banished KOZMO monsters and return it to your hand. Then once per turn, you can reveal any number of KOZMO cards in your hand and mulligan them and draw more cards for the cards you put back into your deck. And then if this card is destroyed, you can add any KOZMO card from your deck to your hand. Really good card, a very good engine extender for the deck. Monster Reborn, we're playing in here, and then we're playing a lot of revival traps. We're playing 3 copies of Call of the Haunted and 3 copies of Storm Dragon's Return. Call of the Haunted summons monsters from the graveyard. Storm Dragon's Return summons cards from the banish pile. And yeah, you like summoning your cards. Your cards have a lot of your cards have effects upon summon. So yeah, why not? Let's play a lot of these. These are really good extenders for this deck. Removal cards, we have quite a few. Dark Destroyer is your main monster removal. You summon it, it can pop a card in the field. This can target your own cards as well, so that's really important for one of your best combos in the deck. And then Slip Rider does the same, but is a lot weaker, but he does spell and trap cards, so that card is really good too. The one thing this deck or your pilots can't get over are monsters that cannot be targeted or cannot be destroyed by card effects. And so we use 3 copies of KOZMO in this deck in order to banish cards in the field. So it targets one KOZMO monster you control, destroys it, and if you do, you can banish one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard. So this is kind of your main way for doing so. If you find when you're testing this that this becomes more of a problem, there are 2 other cards you can play here that would work really well. One of them is Super Polymerization. Like I said, you don't need to use your extra deck, and so you can fill it with Super Poly targets. You've just got to make sure you can find a space to fit 2 copies of this in. So you could do something like play this with Starving Venom Dragon. If I could just find that, here it is. There's a lot of targets you can run with Super Poly, but Starving Venom will probably work the best with you. There it is. So if you want to do that, that's an option. Or another really good option of the deck that you can do is Eater of Millions. Because you don't care about your extra deck, he requires you to banish 5 cards from your hand, field, or the extra deck face down. So you want to banish 5 cards from your extra deck, and then you've got a monster that when it attacks can banish any card that it battles face down. It's really, really good, and it fits perfectly in this deck. And yeah, it's a really good card. Next we have for defensive options. We don't really play defensively in this deck. You kind of rely on the fact that your cards can't be targeted and be destroyed by battle easily, or even if they are destroyed, they kind of float. So that's your main form of defense, but we do have a few options here. Our highest level option is KOZMO Landwalker. If a KOZMO card that you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy a different card instead. This is really good to work with your field spell, because you can pop your field spell and get a search off of it. Forerunner is actually the higher level one, my apologies, it's higher level than Landwalker. Forerunner gives you 1000 life points in your standby phase. It doesn't really do a whole lot else, but you kind of want that level 7 step so that you don't run out of your cards too quickly, and particularly when you do Tin Can, you want to go for your highest level monsters when you do your search. So Forerunner is a name basically that's not Dark Destroyer, because you want to get Dark Destroyer, but you have to pick 3 cards with different names. Dark Lady is a negate. She's a fantastic card, my favorite card in this deck. You pay 1000 life points to negate a monster's effect and destroy the card. Fantastic. She can then also fly up into a ship, so it's really good as well. And then Wicked Witch is very similar, but you pay 1000 life points, and this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. So if your opponent's doing a lot of attacking to you, and you say you have one of your high level ships, when it is destroyed, you can float down into Wicked Witch, put her in defense, pay 1000 life points, and then you've got a card that can't be destroyed by battle for the remainder of the battle phase. And yeah, this is KOZMO are technically defensive cards as well. You could use them in either player's turn. And then your end game options, I put them in the deck here, but what we need to be aware of is how Farm Girl works. I didn't get a video recording of this, but I'll explain to you how it works. So Farm Girl is one of your best cards in the deck. She can help you OTK your opponent. To do this, it requires that you set up the board with one ship, let's say Forerunner, plus Farm Girl on the field, or Emergency Teleport. What you do is you attack with the ship that you have in the field, and then once you've done your damage, you then play E-Telly, or you go with Farm Girl, or if she's already on the field, and then you attack with her. Now, when Farm Girl inflicts battle damage to your opponent, it can add 1 KOZMO card from your deck to your hand. So you can pay 500 life points to search out Dark Destroyer. And then you get Dark Destroyer, and you use Farm Girl's first effect, to tag her out and summon your Dark Destroyer. When Dark Destroyer hits the field, you can then use its effect to blow up your other ship, and then that ship's effect will trigger, allowing you to summon another monster out of your deck, like Landwalker for example. So this is really good, because then you can then attack with the Dark Destroyer you just summoned, and then you can attack with the other card you summoned. So let's say you did directly, let's say we were attacking with let's say we were attacking with Dark Destroyer. Let's go for maximum damage. Let's say you attack with Dark Destroyer, that's 3000 damage. Play E-Telly, then get into Farm Gale, that's 4500 damage. You pay 500 life points, get another Dark Destroyer, summon it to the field, and then pop the other Dark Destroyer, and then you've got another 3000 damage you can do, and then that will summon another monster out to get 2800 attack in ideal situations. So that will be 4500 plus 3000, that's 7500, then plus Forerunner, that's another 2000, so that's 9500, plus the 8 is 10,300 damage. And you're not always going to have that option, but it can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. Farm Girl is very, very useful, but you don't need to run too many copies of her because her effect depends on you being able to do damage with this card. So only one is just fine. And so that is the build. In terms of the extra deck, you kind of just put whatever you want in here. I put like generic cards like Phoenix to destroy spells and traps, Cerberus, destroy monsters, Unicorn and all of that good stuff. But honestly, you can put whatever you want here. Like I said, you can put super poly targets if you want. You could just use Eater of Millions and just banish your cards along with Extravagance. It's really up to you what you do want to do with the extra deck. There isn't really like an extra deck card that supports these cards too well that you could easily summon out. So, you know, it is what it is. This deck doesn't need it though. So, let's go into some gameplay and talk about what we do here. And what this game is, what this is like in action. So we are playing against Tyrannosaurus. And let's see how we go. So we open our hand with one starter in the form of Terraforming. Farm Girl opening isn't too bad. Kozmo Town is technically an extender, but we can use it straight away. So this hand isn't too bad, but ideally you'd want to be able to get to Tin Can ASAP. But you know, this can work. The lack of starters naturally for this deck is kind of one of its weaknesses, where there are a lot of generic cards you can play in this deck to fulfill the role of starters, but in terms of actual native starters that are in the deck, it's just really Tin Can. Your other cards can kind of work, but they kind of work as extenders like Saw Troopers or your Strawman, so they don't really go live until like later in the game. So, our opponent here is playing Spiral, one of the best decks in the game. He has Quick Fix access early, that's really, really good to see. And then Quick Fix goes for Link Karibo, and he stops his turn here. I'm not really sure why he stopped his turn there. He should have been able to do a bit more. I don't know what his hand is though, so don't know how it is. And do you know what, considering some of the balls that Spirals can make, you know what, I'm fine with that. I would rather not have to play through a full Spiral board because that deck is crazy. So, Terraforming, but if you want to see how Spirals can work and you want to try build it yourself, I do have deck profiles of it on my channel, so feel free to go and check that out as well. So we drew into 2 cards using Allure of Darkness, using part of Extravagance, and then we managed to get a Terraforming to search out the last Kozmos Town, and we got Reasoning as well. Reasoning, like I said, works really, really well in this deck. You only have one level 4 monster, and most players are going to choose level 4. And you've got a variety of cards like, there you go, level 4. If people don't know what you're playing, they're not going to really be able to guess correctly. I think the right answer for this deck might be 1 or might be 8, because you have 3 Dark Destroyer and 3 Tin Can. But honestly, even with just 3 of them, the odds are still quite high in your favor, so don't have to worry about it too much. And then we have Kozmo Town on the field. Now, Kozmo Town has some pretty good effects. And we can mulligan with it, we can recover from the banish pile, we can do a lot with Kozmo Town, but I don't really want to get rid of my Tin Can. I kind of want to keep Tin Can right now, because Tin Can is pretty good, so I don't really want it to go off the field, so I'm just trying to think about what to do here. So what I am going to do here is, we have the Tin Can special summoned, so I'm going to go and play Strawman. So if we can go ahead and choose that, we've got Strawman on the field. Strawman is your recovery from the banish pile, which is why we play Gold Sarcophagus, because between Kozmo Town and Strawman, you have 4 different ways, or 4 different cards, 5 different cards including Terraforming, that can recover from your banish pile. No, we have 8 different cards, because we have our trap card too. So banishing your cards really doesn't matter to you. So we're going to use Strawman's effect, banish it, and then summon Slip Rider, and then try and get rid of this face down card here. Let's see what our opponent has. Probably a Solemn card or something like that. Let's see. No, it was Big Red. I don't know why he set Big Red. That's really, really strange. he could have used that to bring back his quick fix and abuse its effect a bit more. Oh well, I don't know. So we would have done KOZMO Town now. KOZMO Town will then recover the Straw Man. The one thing you have to be wary of with Kozmos is you do end up paying a lot of life points for your effects, so just manage yourself really well. But it's never been too much of a problem for me where I've lost games due to it. It's not like Archfiends, for example, where you end up burning through your life points so much that you end up just kind of like losing the game. It's not really like that, so I never really had to worry about my life points, but you do end up using quite a bit of them to activate your effects. That's supposed to be their way to balance the cards out, but otherwise the cards are really busted. So we have KOZMO Town Tin Can here. Be careful when you want to activate this card. It will say, do you want to activate Tin Can's effect? It won't be like during your end phase you want to activate effect. Just learn how to use it in this way, because you could end up what you can end up doing is, if it says it's the end phase, you want to activate an effect, and you say yes, and you go ahead and use Tin Can's effect with the idea that you want to do the search effect, and you choose Tin Can, you actually end up doing the banishing effect that will banish it from the field and summon out of a higher level Kozmo monster. So just be careful of that and know which one is which. So we use his effect, we sent Dark Destroyer and Forerunner to the graveyard, and we got Landwalker. Not the card we really wanted, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world for us to send our cards to the graveyard because we can get them back. And then we pass turn over to our opponent here. Now, one card that I really like to have when we go into our opponent's turn is KOZMO Dark Lady. KOZMO Dark Lady is really good. It's a good form of interruption, so I always love having that card around, and I think she's got great artwork, like a female version of Darth Vader. I think she's really cool looking, so I've always liked Dark Lady, but we don't have her at the moment. But what's great about Kozmos is that because you can just tag out into one of your higher level ships at any moment, all of your high level ships in your hand kind of function like hand traps, because you can summon them during your opponent's turn and then disrupt your opponent's plays by destroying their spells and traps, monsters, or even protecting your board. So your cards are really good here, and this is why this deck is so self-sufficient. It's the kind of deck that when it works really well, it works really well, but when it struggles quite a bit. So it's it's just that type of deck here. So our opponent banishes 3 Spiral cards from his graveyard to summon out Spiral Sleeper, the boss monster for Spirals. That card is really good. It has a quick effect to be ability to be able to pop 2 cards your opponent controls, which is really good. The cost of it is you have to destroy 1 card you control, and if Sleeper gets destroyed, you have to destroy all cards on your field. But if you have the card that he's using right now, Last Resort, all of that is null and void, because Last Resort makes it so that the card this is equipped to cannot be destroyed by card effects. So what you can do is you can still use Sleeper, you can target itself, so it won't be destroyed by its own card effect, and then you can pop 2 cards on the field, which is really good. Now, unfortunately for our opponent though, we are playing Kozmos, and we do not care if our cards try to get destroyed. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to use the effect of Landwalker, and Landwalker is going to destroy itself instead of allowing him to destroy 2 of my cards. But even if he did destroy 2 of my cards, that's not too bad, because my cards would have floated anyway. I would have got a search of KOZMO Town, and I've got others to replace it already, and I would have got a search of Slit Rider. So honestly, I actually didn't even need to protect it with Landwalker, but I wanted to show you how Landwalker can protect you from mass removal. So it's really good in that sense. This deck is not afraid of cards like Lightning Storm at all. This deck loves cards like Lightning Storm. It plays right through them. The only cards you have to worry about for Lightning Storm are cards like Call of the Haunted and maybe Cosmojo if you're not ready to activate it. But otherwise, yeah, this deck is very good against destruction. So our opponent then goes for Last Resort's other effect to attack directly. That's kind of smart in a way, I think. I do think he should have got an attack Tin Can. Maybe he didn't know what it was or what it does. But even if he attacked Tin Can, it wouldn't have mattered too much, because we could have tagged it out and then just banished it and recovered it later on. So it didn't matter in the airway in the grand scheme of things. But he has done a lot of damage to my life points now, so maybe it was better to attack directly. And he can always just pop my cards later on as well. So we're using Tin Can's effect here again. And whenever you use Tin Can's effect, you always want to go for your higher level ships. Now, I already used my Forerunner and I've already used my Landwalker. So we're already kind of down to our lower level monsters. So I'm really hoping we either get Dark Lady or Dark Destroyer to our hand, because those are like the better cards to summon out of your pilot's effect. So let's see what we get here. We lose both of those cards and we end up getting KOZMO. Fine. Is what it is. KOZMO is still a really good card nonetheless. We draw into Emergency Teleport, which means we can search out any of our Psychic monsters. And we're just going to keep on using our Cast and Extend here. So first I use Kozmo Town's effect. We're going to recover a copy of, well, you could go for Landwalker actually. Normally I would just go for Tin Can because that's your main searcher. But we've got a Tin Can on the field and we're not likely to lose it anytime soon. So we don't need multiple copies of it. So my opponent is now going to use Sleeper effect again. This time he's targeting our Tin Can and our Slip Rider. So we are going to tag out the Tin Can and we're going to use the Tin Can and banish it. So off it goes. And then in this situation here, I'm very likely going to attack my opponent. So I'm probably going to go for Farm Girl. Actually, no, we're going to go for Straw Man because I don't necessarily have access to Dark Destroyer just yet. And I probably want to get rid of Sleeper using KOZMO. I wonder if Sleeper can be targeted. Not that it matters for KOZMO because KOZMO doesn't target, but I wonder if, I can't remember if Last Resort protects it from being targeted, but we'll soon find out nonetheless. Slip Rider is gone, so we go down a bit, and this time we're going to go get Saw Troopers. Saw Troopers is good. It's not always good because there aren't too many cards from the graveyard you want to bring back, but in some situations it's good. It's good enough to have at one in my opinion. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use Kozmo Town and we're going to Monarch in our hand because we don't really want the Farm Girl and Landwalker. If we can get to a Dark Destroyer, that would be really, really good. Or even a Slip Rider to be able to destroy that Last Resort card. That would be really good too. Instead, we draw into our one copy each of our Revival cards. That's fine. We can get back our cards a different way. That's A-okay with me. And now we're going to use Saw Troopers effect and we're going to use it to bring back our Dark Lady from the graveyard because she is a Psychic monster. She is a pilot. She's the highest level pilot. She wasn't originally released with all the cards. I think she came out a little bit later, but I'm really glad they have her because she kind of rounds out everything this deck can do. And this deck has coverage for pretty much everything. We now use Straw Man's effect. We're going to summon back out Slip Rider. Slip Rider will come out negated unfortunately, so we can't destroy the Last Resort straight away. But what we can do is let it float and do that instead. So that's fine with us. So unfortunately, yep, Slip Rider is negated. And then now we're going to set KOZMO and we're going to set our Storm's Dragon's Return. And then we're going to set Call of the Haunted as well. I'm just having a read of if these cards' effects are once per turn. They are once per turn. I think you can activate multiple of them, but there's no real reason for me to do that right now. I think you can do like one after the other. So they're not like hard once per turn, they're soft once per turns. So I could get back Tin Can if I wanted to, but yeah, we don't have to. In this situation, however, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to use my extra deck. I don't often use my extra deck for Kozmos, but I might as well in this situation. So we're going to summon out Nightmare Phoenix, and we're going to bring it to the field. And we probably could just discard one of the Kozmo Towns here because we've got quite a few resources. We don't need 3 copies of Kozmo Town really. My opponent isn't really trying to blow it up or anything. Maybe he caught that it gives me a search effect, so we'll get rid of his Last Resort now. So he only has Sleeper, and if he uses Sleeper's effect on itself, he will blow up his whole entire field. So that's fine by me. Next, we're going to do nothing. Oh, are we going to make a Nightmare Cerberus? We could make a Nightmare Cerberus actually, yeah, why not? Because Sleeper was special summoned. So why don't we put pressure on our opponent? Let's let him make the Nightmare Cerberus and see what happens. We can discard, I think I would discard E-Telly in this situation. Because we already have Farm Girl, oh no, I'm going to go for Kozmo Town. Probably better to do E-Telly because we got kind of all of our best pilots out of the deck. Like we've got maybe 1 Tin Can left, maybe. I should have probably gone for E-Telly instead of discarding the Kozmo Town, but that's fine. Now, if he had other cards on the field, Sleeper would have blown up his whole field. So it's a bit sad that we won't be able to take advantage of that. But we're in a very, very powerful position right now. We've got full control of the board, and so I'm not too worried about that nonetheless. We've got the only thing we don't have right now is a ship for KOZMO Dark Lady to fly up into, so that's a bit unfortunate. But at this point, I'm not really worried at all. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forms of interaction. Well, 6 really. The E-Telly doesn't count, and my opponent only has 3 cards, so I'm not too worried. He does do Tough Effect, and we're just going to negate and destroy it because that was his normal summon. So off goes Tough. We are down to 900 life points again though, so we cannot do Dark Lady's effect anymore, and one big swing of damage will really hurt us, so we have to be careful here. I remember when people used to play Solemn Judgment in this deck. I think that's absolutely crazy. I couldn't imagine playing Solemn in this deck. Definitely doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. But opponent sets a card. Let's see if he's going to do anything else. I mean, really, whatever he sets at this point really doesn't matter too much, because we have 1 revival for our grave and 1 revival for our banish pile. Sure, let's go to end phase, and before we end this turn, we're gonna do some revivals. So I'm gonna use Call of the Haunted because Slip Rider should be in the grave, so we're gonna go get that card back. Welcome back, Slip Rider. Slip Rider will hit the field. Anytime this card is normal or special summon, not via Straw Man, it destroys the card on the field, and our opponent surrenders and gives up there. So that is Kozmos, a really, really good deck. Not enough people try this deck. I know it's old, but I think it's really good, and I think it's very good to play in a format like this. Yes, it doesn't have kaijus, sure, but it can play through so much interruption. I think it's really, really good, and it's a deck I've always wanted to build in real life because I feel like it's a deck that can go into kind of any format, really. Maybe not against combo decks too much, but the combo format, but who knows. Anyway, that's been Kozmos. I really enjoyed this deck. I think it's a great deck. Thank you guys as always for watching this video. I'll see you soon. Take care.